Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at a satire of the Three Estates by Sir David Lindsay. We have done the first part. We have done the introductory trailer and the first part of this epic text from the middle of the 16th century. It is... I say it's in many ways something doing lots of things that we've seen before, but it is also doing lots of things we haven't seen before, especially in some of the more fruity aspects of some of the language used. I think it calms down a little bit from now on. I don't think we have quite so many obscenities flying around, but just be warned, there's occasional rude bits have occurred and may occur again. We shall see. I can't remember off the top of my head, so I genuinely have no idea from this point onwards. We're going to look at the interlude between parts 1 and 2 today, and then going into the beginning of part 2 and seeing what comes up. So, reading today, The Pardoner, Rex Humanitas, and a Merchant is...
Dave Longstaff, based in the northwest of England.
Reading A Pauper and Wantonness is...
Lois Potter, based in London.
Reading Solace, Correction and Sensuality is...
Currently unmuted, Eric, hi.
Reading Wilkin, Temporality and First Sergeant is...
Hallam, based in Suffolk.
Reading Souter's Wife, Spirituality and Second Sergeant is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading Diligence and Covetous is...
Hello, I'm Lynn Freitas. I live in the northwestern United States.
And reading Souter, Good Counsel and John is...
Francis Cox, actor living in Amsterdam.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and generally trying to keep us moving in the right direction and stepping in the event that we have any clashes. We've already identified that some people are occasionally going to talk to themselves, but it's that kind of play. There's quite a lot of characters, and we have to keep everything moving forward. So, without further ado, we're going to go into the interlude. I don't know whether you need to know anything about what happened before this for the interlude between part 1 and part 2. We've just had Diligence telling the audience to go off, have a drink, eat, go for a wee, and come back later. And then we have a stage direction. Now shall the people make collation? Then begins the interlude. The kings, bishops, and principal players being out of their seats, and at which point enter the pauper.
Of your alms, good folks, for God's love of heaven, for I have motherless bairns, either 6 or 7. If you give me no good for the love of Jesus, wish me the right way to St. Andrews.
Where have we gotten this goodly companion? Swith out of the field, false ragged lown. God wait if here be and well keep it place, when such an wild beggar churl may get entrance. Fie on you officers that mends not these failies. I give you all to the devil, both provost and bailies. Without ye come and chase this churl away, the devil a word, he's get more of our play. False horse and ragged churl, what devil is that thou rugs?
Oh, devil made thee a gentleman that would not thy lugs.
What now? Methinks the churl begins to crack. Swift churl away, and by this day I break thy back.
Here shall the churl climb up and sit in the king's chair.
Come down, or by God's crown, false loun, I shall slay thee.
Now swear by thy brunt shines, the devil ding them from thee. What say ye to these court dastards? Be they get high clothes, so soon as they learn to swear and trip on their tails.
Methought the churl call it me knave, even in my face. By Saint Filane, thou shalt be slain. But if thou ask grace, leap down, or by the good Lord, thou shalt lose thy head.
I shall once drink ere I go, though thou had sworn my dead.
Here Diligence casts away the ladder.
Leap now if thou list, for thou hast lost the ladder.
It is full well thy kind to leap and light in a ladder. Thou shalt be fain to fetch again the ladder, or I lope. I shall sit here into this chair till I have turned the stoop.
And here shall the churl leap off the scaffold.
Swift beggar Boggle, haste away. Thou art overpert to spoil our play.
I will not give for all your play worth and sow's fart, for it is right little play at my hungry heart.
What devil ails this crooked churl?
Marry, mickle sorrow, I cannot get, though I gasp, to beg nor to borrow.
Where devil is this thou dwells, or what is thy intent?
I dwell unto Lothian, in miles from Tranent.
Where would thou be, churl? These suit to me now. They suit to me show.
Sir, even to St. Andrews for to seek law.
For to seek law in Edinburgh was the nearest way.
Sir, I sought law there this many dear day, but I could get none at session nor size. Therefore the mickle din devil drown all the many.
Show me thy matter, man, with all the circumstances, how that thou hast happened on these unhappy chances.
Good man, will you give me of your charity? And I shall declare you the black verity. My father was an old man and a whore, and was of age 80 years and more. And Mould, my mother, was 15, and with my labour I did them both sustain. We had a mare that carried salt and coal, and every ilk year she brought us home a foal. We had 3 kye that was both fair and fat and fair, none tidier hind to the town of Ayr. My father was so weak of blood and bone that he died, wherefore my mother made great moan. Then she died within a day or two, and there began my poverty and woe. Our good grey mare was battened on the field, and our land's laird took her for his hireeld. The vicar took the best cow by the head, incontinent when my father was dead. And when the vicar heard tell how that my mother was dead, from hand he took to him another. Then Meg, my wife, did mourn both even and morrow, till at the last she died for very sorrow. And when the vicar hold tell my wife was dead, the 3rd cow he clicked by the head. Their unmaced clays that was Raploch grey, the vicar gart his clerk bear them away. When all was gain, I made no debate, but with my bairns passed for to beg my meat. Now have I told you the black verity, how I am brought unto this misery.
How did they, parson? Was he not thy good friend?
The devil stick him, he cursed me for my tend, and holds me yet under the same process that got me want the sacrament at Pasch. And good faith, sir, though he would cut my throat, I have no gear except an English groat, which I purpose to give an man of law.
Thou art the daftest fool that ever I saw. Trowest thou, man, by the law to get remade of men of kirk? Know not till thou be dead.
Sir, by what law tell me wherefore or why that a vicar should take from me 3 kye?
They have no law except the consuetude, which law to them is sufficient and good.
And consuetude against the commonweal should be no law, I think, by sweet St. Gill. Where will you find that law? Tell if you can, to take 3 kye from an poor husbandman. 1 for my father, and for my wife another, and the 3rd cow he took from Mauld, my mother.
It is their law, all that they have in use, though it be cow, sow, ganner, grease, or goose.
Sir, I would speer at you ein question. Behold, some prelates of this region, manifestly during their lusty lives, they swive ladies, maidens, and other men's wives, and so their else they have in consuetude. Whether say ye that law is evil or good?
Hold thy tongue, man. It seems thou art that thou were manged, speak'st thou of priests, but doubt thou will be hanged.
Yeah, by him that bore the cruel crown of thorn, I cared not to be hanged even the morn.
Be sure of priests thou will get no support.
If that be true, the fiend receive the sword. So, sin I see I get no other grace, I will lie down and rest me in this place.
And the pauper lies down in the field, and in a moment the pardoner enters. But we'll just pause before we get to the pardoner, because that's the sort of unit of action that we've had, as we get a sense of what this interlude is doing. Interlude featuring, of course, Diligence, who we the previous section ended with. And a bit of a stage invasion from a poor man who's climbing. He's climbing onto the throne, and we're getting more data about how this is put together. There's a ladder up to where the king's throne is. I don't know how kingly you can be if you have to climb a ladder. Maybe he has a chair, he has a lift or something. But yeah, so we have this sort of introductory stage invasion from the pauper, and then we get a sense of how everybody has really gone for him and taken all his stuff and made him poor. It's a terrible tale, and trying to get law has not been easy for him. Thoughts from the room about this pauper and Diligence, Lynn?
Diligence isn't very nice. I mean, like, hey, you ragamuffin, get off my stage. Like, that's compassionate.
Well, he gets a bit more sympathetic because after he's heard the story.
Yeah, he does, but he's also a little bit like, yeah, that's the way of the world. They do that.
Yeah.
It's the custom. Oh, well, bummer for you. Sucks to be you. Okay.
Yeah. Stephen, then Eric.
Yeah, just to extend that point, really, it is a kind of revolutionary structural critique, isn't it? This isn't just kind of individual bad actors. This is actually the way things are set up, and the remedy isn't available to an individual, but it does kind of start to pose a question, I think, about these structures, and I think that's really interesting, considering we're in the kind of light-hearted bit, the between the acts stuff.
Yeah, this is actually posing an interesting sort of moral debate point, isn't it? There is a sort of debate element here that's going on, which we haven't necessarily had in the previous section, certainly not in the introduction, the trailer, as we've been calling it. So this is doing a really interesting thing, and it'll be interesting to see what else this interlude brings us. Eric?
Yeah, at the beginning, though, it felt a bit sort of cartoony, sort of like, get the really sort of, I don't know, Coyote versus Roadrunner kind of thing, except with words. And then you start getting into the story, which is kind of like, well, you can't really do anything about this, but clearly you can't appeal to the law for people who are cheated by the church. Therefore, you kind of have to kind of appeal to the church in a way, or there must be some sort of external body of authority over the church, is basically what the pauper is kind of wanting.
Yeah, I mean, Diligence at the very beginning, when you're talking about the sort of Wile E. Coyote element, is, he's basically the stage manager, and someone from the audience has run onto the set, and he's not supposed to be there, and that's sort of why he's so unsympathetic at the beginning, because he doesn't know who the hell he is and he shouldn't be there, because it's not part of the play. That's the thing. This isn't a part of the play, people. This is just spontaneously happening. There's a conceit that has been going on for quite a while. Alan?
Yeah, one thing I found interesting is that the whole emphasis seemed to end up as being on the misdeeds of the parson who'd taken the 3 cows. But there was no critique of the landlord who'd been the first to pillage the estate.
Yeah. He's very, very... he's got a lot of issues about his cows. Again, not the last person to be unhappy about the absence of his cow. No cow.
No cow?
No cow. Francis, then Stephen.
Yeah, the Pauper's Tale of Woe does seem to be an indictment of the clergy, but I'm not quite sure how it fits in historically here at this point.
It's complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
There are a lot of criticisms of the actions of the clergy. There's a lot of it about. It doesn't automatically mean this is criticism from a different confession. It should be added. There's plenty of Catholics who have issue with what the clergy and people in monastic houses get up to because they've been up to some bad things. That's been pretty standard for the last couple of hundred years, on and off.
Right. So it's Catholic clergy, not Protestant clergy.
Well, yes, because we don't really have that many Protestant clergy.
Okay,
yet.
yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah, no. One of the key religious moments in the first section was when a Verity or Truth arrived, and she was bringing the New Testament. And members of the spirituality, who clearly are all Catholics, were saying, "Horror, horror! The New Testament in English. Get her out of here, burn her." It was really,
yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of complicated stuff going on here. Stephen, I think, was next.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the context of this. In that the previous bit ended with everybody going off and getting their kind of cold plates and their drinks, didn't it? So I wonder if this is actually going on while everybody's kind of standing round with their Ponzi canapes or whatever. It's like, I don't know, it's like somebody from the Bowery at the Met Gala or something like that. Has this been engineered to produce a kind of a sort of productive tension? Or is all that finished and everybody is, people aren't going to make the connection? I wonder if there's a little bit more of in your face in terms of the context.
Yeah, what is the precise timing? How long is the interval between part 1 and part 2? What's the timing of this, and where are the actors in relationship to the audience at this point? How much freedom of action have they got there? How's the conceit working and what it's trying to do? Lois?
Yeah, I mean, following on from that, if the poor man comes on, actually goes among the audience asking for money, which is what he's doing at the beginning, or asking for anything, if they're all holding, great chunks of meat or whatever they've been getting, anything, it would make them feel fairly uncomfortable, before he then does the really sacrilegious thing of climbing into the king's throne.
Yeah, that's the question of how convincing, because again, it's this going, how much does this seem like theatre? Are you trying to make the pauper seem like a genuine person who's invaded the space? Or is it really clear he's just one of the other actors? We saw him with a different costume on earlier, and they're in on that. And what's the provocation?
And he's also speaking in rhyme, which people don't do terribly well, usually, if they're improvising.
Well, he could have, for all we know, he's been doing this for 15 minutes before he actually does his official bit of dialogue, and at which point everyone could relax and go, "Oh, it's part of the play. Oh, how lovely," etc. Okay, well, let's find out where it goes next. We don't know where the pauper and diligence are precisely now in relation to other things. Pauper's has lain down in the field. We've had a lot of lying in this, which sometimes just more indicates sitting. Actually, sometimes in occasional, and we had a few discussions about the way the word lies is used. So Pauper has definitely plonked himself down somewhere. Not sure about diligence, but here we have the entrance of. Oh, it's lovely to see them again. Enter a pardoner.
Bona dies, devout people, good day, I say you. Now, tarry a little while, I pray you, till I be with you known. Wot ye well how I am named, a noble man and undefamed, if all the sooth were shown. I am Sir Robert Rome-Raker, and perfect public pardoner admitted by the Pope, sirs. I will show you for my wage my pardons and my pilgrimage, which ye shall see and grip. I give to the
devil with good intent, this unsold wicked New Testament with them that translate it. Since laymen knew the verity, pardoners gets no charity, without that they debate it. Among the wives with rinks and wiles, as all my marrow is, men beguiles with our fair false flattery. Yea, all the crafts I can perquare, as I was teached by an friar, called hypocrisy. But now, alas, our great abusion is clearly known to our confusion, that we may sore repent. For all credence now, I am quite, for eke man holds me at despite that reads the New Testament. Devil fell the brain that has it wrought, so fall them that the book home brought, as I pray to the rude that Martin Luther, that false loon, Black Bullinger and Melanchthon, have been smored in their cood by him that bore the crown of thorn. I would St. Paul had never been born, and as I would his books, never read in the kirk, but among friars into the murk, or riven among rooks.
And here shall he lay down his gear upon a board and say,
My patient pardons ye may see, come from the cave of Tartary, well sealed with oyster shells. Though ye have no contrition, ye shall have full remission with the help of books and bells. Here is an relic, long and braid, of fine macool, the white chased blade, with teeth but altogether of Colling's cow. Here is an horn for eating of McConnell's corn, was slain in 2 Backwooder. Here is a cord, both great and long, which hanged down the armor's throng, of good hemp, soft and sound. Good holy people, I stand for it. Whoever be's hanged with this cord needs never be drowned. The culum of St. Bridget's cow, the gruntle of St. Anthony's sow, which bore his holy bell. Whoever he be, hears this bell clink. Give me a ducat for to drink, he shall never gang to hell, without he be of Balliol born. Masters, trow ye this be scorn? Come, win this pardon, come, who loves their wives, not with their heart. I have power them for to part. Methink you deaf and dumb. As none of you, cursed wicked wives, that holds you into sturt and strives? Come, take my dispensation. Of that comer I shall make you quite, how be yourselves be in the white, and make an false narration. Come, win the pardon. Now let's see, for a meal, for malt, or for money, for cock, hen, geese, or grouse. Of relics here I have an hunder. Why come you not? This is a wonder. I trow ye be not wise.
Welcome home, Robert Rome-raker, our holy patterned pardoner. If ye have dispensation to part me and my wicked wife, and me deliver from sturt and strife, I make you supplication.
I shall you part. But more demand, so I get many in my hand. Therefore, let's see some cunny.
I have no silver by my life, but 5 shillings, and my shaping knife, that ye shall have but son ye.
What kind of woman is thy wife?
Oh, and quick devil, sir, and storm of strife, and frog that files the wind, and fisting flag, and flaggety fuff, and ilk and pant, she lets am puff, and has no hoe behind. All the day long she me despites, and all the night she flings and flights, and thus sleep I never and wink. that cockatrice, that common whore, that mickle devil may not endure her stubbornness and stink.
Thief, churl, thy words I heard right well. In faith my friendship ye shall feel, and I thee fang.
If I said aught, Dane, by the rood, except ye were both fair and good, God nor I hang.
Fair dame, if ye would be an wooer to part you two, I have an power. Tell on, are ye content?
Ye that I am with all my heart, from that false whoreson to depart. If this thief will consent, causes to part I have anew, because I got no chamber glue. I tell you verily, I marvel not so much I life. Howbeit that swinger cannot strive, he is both cold and dry.
What will ye give me for your part?
And couple of sarks with all my heart, the best cloth in the land.
Well, to part, sin ye are both content, I shall part you, incontinent. But ye mun do command, my will and final sentence is, ilken you, others ask kiss. We slip down your hose, methinks the chill is blanket. Set thou not by howbeit she kiss and slake it.
Here shall she kiss her arse with silence.
Lift up her clothes, kiss her whole with your heart.
I pray you, sir, forbid her for to fart.
Here shall the churl kiss her arse with silence.
Dame, pass ye to the east end of the town, and pass ye west, even like a cuckold loon. Go hence ye both, with Belial's braid blessing. Sir, saw ye ever more sorrowless parting?
There's about to be interrupted, but I think we should just pause there. So yeah, she kisses his arse, and he kisses her ass, and everything's fine. We've had lots of partners before. Anyone who's listened to any of our full cast audio adaptations of the works of John Hayward will recognise the character of the partner in the Four Ps, and also the partner and the friar, as well as other works, and of course Chaucer and all sorts. This is a very conventional partner huckster selling things sort of bit of business. I like the way the partner has to is sort of working the audience of just going, well, you're a quiet crowd. Why aren't you being more impressed by my wonderful stuff? So I quite like that. Before we have the return of the Souter and the Souter's wife, who may or may not be related to the cutter in the introductory advert as well. Yeah, it's there are some thematically linked and or exactly the same characters vaguely returning here. Thoughts on the room? Anyone want to leap in on arse kissing, which again turns up quite a lot. You'd be surprised. Definitely turns up in Gamma Gurton's Needle, which is also available as a full cast audio adaptation on the podcast. I'm doing well for adverts today. Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say the bit with the partner going, look at my wonderful things. It just reminded me of the Peddler's Prophecy, where you just kind of have this phantom stone in a rucksack and you don't know what it is.
Yeah, in that sense, it's always a stone, whereas here it's a slightly more selection of fun things. Yeah, we've got the wonderful relic of the anus of St. Bird's cow. So that's a good one. I don't think we've had that one before. I state that out loud just because the word that's used there didn't necessarily get that across. Just to make sure that was clear. Lynn, then Lois.
Yeah, from the little bit that I've seen from literature of this period, that even the partner is a stereotypically negative character. He's venal, he's avaricious, whatever. So he's going to take a bribe to approve the annulment of their marriage. Neither one of them was particularly happy in this union, but I don't know, the sort of the ass kissing thing. It just seems like he wants to humiliate them as well as bribe them. and or get bribes from them, and that just seems a little, yeah, that's a little over the top gross. It's just gross.
I think that's the tone of the interlude and or the trailer. Grossness. I think that the expectation of the audience is to get people to go, oh, you know. And the fact it says forbid her to fart. I'm not suggesting that any sound effects are employed at this point, but I kind of feel that it's in asking for us to have some bellows on standby to make some noises and or some hair flapping to occur. Lois.
Yeah, I was just going to point out the bit about the piece of the cord that hanged Johnny Armstrong. I mean, he was I think, a real person, a bandit, and there is a ballad of him. And there is also, some of you might know, John Arden's play, Armstrong's Last Good Night, which is about his capture. And in fact, Lindsay appears in it as a character. He essentially sort of betrays Armstrong.
Lovely. We're full of things for people to go away and experience today. I like that. Other thoughts before we move on and further into this interlude? Eric and then Elizabeth.
I do like the sort of expression of "I don't give a sow's fart for your thoughts" kind of thing. Yeah, that's
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was still kind of taken aback by the fact it was the vicar who stole the cows. You know, I was just thinking, like, you know, you assume that the vicar would be this right upstanding person in society who would be the one, you know, defending the pauper, but he was actually part of the downfall of the pauper. So I was just still thinking about that. And then this whole thing of kiss my ass. You know, that is such a throwaway idiom now, like that of like an insult. I never knew it really had its roots in kind of a literal thing, and I was just wondering what the meaning of kissing someone's ass actually is. Is that to be to say no more offense is taken, or it was just a very strange thing to be literal. To have as a literal thing in this piece.
Well, we do have when you swear allegiance to Satan, you are invited to kiss his arse, and we've literally had that in a few plays where Satan does offer potentially. I think, to be fair, we got very excited in one room, shall we say, about the staging of such things. Stephen is holding a book in front of us of which we are not in any way affiliated, and this is not an endorsement in any way, shape or form for you to purchase such an item. I couldn't even read it, so I have no idea what it was. But just putting that disclaimer in, just for there. So yes, kissing arse is sort of the. Whereas you might kiss the ring of the Pope or something, you've got a very different ring involved here. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the kissing the arse, the whole thing is an exercise in public humiliation. And I think going back to Elizabeth's point about the vicar having 3 cows, would probably actually, the excuse might be, oh, well, those were the burial fees.
Right, let's finish this interlude and find out where it all goes. So we can infer that the Souter and his wife have exited, but now the pardoner is interrupted. As for here shall the boy cry off the hill.
How, master? How? Where are you now?
I am here, Wilkin Widdyfowl.
Sir, I have done your bidding, and for I have bound and great horsebone. And fairer saw ye never none upon Dame Flesher's midden. Sir, ye may gar the wives' trow. It is an bone of St. Bride's cow, good for the fever courtaine. Sir, will ye rule this relic well? All the wives will both kiss and kneel between this and Dumbarton.
What say they of me in the town?
Some says ye are a very loon. Some says legatus natus. Some say ye are a false Saracen, and some say ye are for certain diabolus incarnatus. But keep you from subjection of the cursed king correction, for be with ye him fanged, because ye are an Rome racker and common public causeway packer, but doubt ye will be hanged.
Where shall I lodge into the town?
With good King Christian Anderson, where ye will be well treated. If any limmer you demands, she will defend you with her hands, and womanly debate it. Lord Birdie says by the Trinity, that she shall bear you Trinity company, howbeit ye bide a year.
Thou hast done well, by God's mother. Take ye one, and I the t'other, and so shall we make great cheer.
I rede you, speed you here, and make no longer tarry. Bide ye long there but weir, I dread your weird you worry.
And here shall the pauper rise and Rax stretch himself.
What thing was yon that I heard crack and cry? I have been dreaming and drivelling of my Kai. With my right hand, my whole body, I saying, Saint Bride, send me my Kai again. I see standing yonder an holy man. To make me help, let me see if he can. Holy master, God speed ye, and good morn.
Welcome to me, though thou were at the horn. Come, win the pardon, and sin I shall be sane.
Will that pardon get me my Kai again?
Churl, of that Kai I have nothing to do. Come, win my pardon, and kiss my relics too.
Here shall he sain with him his relics.
Now, loose thy purse and lay down thy offer, and thou shalt have my pardon, even from hand. With raps and relics I shall thee sain again. Of gut or gravel thou shalt never have pain. Now, win the pardon, limmer, or thou art lost.
My holy father, what will that pardon cost?
Let's see what many thou bearest in thy bag.
I have a groat here, bound into a rag.
Hast thou no other silver but a groat?
If I have more, sir, come and rip my coat.
Well, give me the groat, man, if thou hast no more.
With all my heart, master. Lo, take it there. Now, let me see your pardon, with your leave.
1,000 years of pardons I give thee.
1,000 year? I will not live so long. Deliver it me, master, and let me gang.
1,000 year I lay upon thy head, with jotians, quotians. Well, now make me no more plead, that thou hast received thy pardon now already.
But I can see no thing, sir, by Our Lady. Forsooth, master, I trow I be not wise to pay ere I have seen my merchandise. That ye have gotten my groat full sore I rue. Sir, whether is your pardon black or blue? Master, since ye have ta'en from me my cunny, my merchandise show me withouten sunny, or to the bishop I shall pass and plain in St. Andrew's and summon you to the same.
What craves thee, churl? Methinks thou art not wise.
I crave my groat, or else my merchandise.
I gave thee pardon for 1,000 year.
How shall I get that pardon? Let me hear.
Stand still, I shall tell thee the whole story. When thou art dead, and goes to purgatory, being condemned to pain 1,000 year, then shall thy pardon the relief but wear. Now, be content, ye are a marvellous man.
Shall I get nothing for my groat until then?
That shall thou not. I make it to you plain.
No? Then, gossip, give me my groat again. What say ye, masters? Call ye this good reason that he should promise me a gay pardon, and he receive my money in his stead, Sign, make me no payment till I be dead. When I'm dead, I wot full sickerly, my silly soul will pass to purgatory. Declare me this, now God nor Belial bind thee, when I am there, cursed churl, where shall I find thee? Not into heaven, but rather into hell. When you art there, thou canst not help thyself. When wilt thou come my dolours to abate? When I thee find, my hips will get a hair. Troust thou, butcher, that I will be blind lambs? Give me my groat, the devil dright on thy gams.
Stand aback. I trow this man be manged. Thou getst not this, churl, though you should be hanged.
Give me my groat, we'll bund into a clout, where by God's bread Robin shall bear a rout.
And here shall they fight, fetch with silence, and Pauper shall cast down the board and cast the relics in the water. Diligence steps forward once again.
Sorry,
You weren't expecting to come back
I was
again, were
not.
you?
Nobody expects diligence. What kind of daffling is this all day? Swiss makes out of the field. Away! Into an prison. Put them soon. Sing hang them when the play is done.
And thus ends the interlude. We have this nice moment. The boy comes in and says, "I've got some more stock for you, sir." And he goes, "Well, what's the? How's the ad campaign going for my work?" And he's going, "Well, some say some say some say you're Satan. Keep away from King Correction. We've met King Correction, I think. There is this little." There is a connective tissue with this or what we've watched so far. It's not like the trailer that felt slightly separate. This is thematically connecting quite nicely and with little connections over. And then I say the pauper comes in and the pardoner actually gets a customer who's not very happy. Is like, I give you 1,000 years of. I'm not going to live 1,000 years. What am I going to do with that? It's just no. No, it works after you're dead. What? I'm going to get nothing now. I want something. He's not impressed. Not impressed. Fight ensues, and the props are disposed of by throwing them in the water.
What water that is, we don't know, right?
Well, we had the water earlier. So in the last session, we had people wading into water. So there's presumably a ditch or something, or something as part of the set which involves some sort of thing. So that's an interesting question. Lois.
Yeah, there was water in the Castle of Perseverance as well. I think there was even somebody who was bailing water out of it. I just wonder, what are these playing places like anyway? And do they generally assume there'll be a little stream somewhere, or do they bring something in?
Yeah. It's asking all sorts of questions about what this set is like. We have this chair is high enough that the chair for the king can't be so high that someone can't leap off it, but it has to be plausibly high enough for the ladder to be necessary on some level. Is it a ladder or is it just steps that can be moved? So, because I say I can't see the king climbing a ladder. I just can't. I find it weirdly weird. So I'm really interested in what the structure, and it's called a field as well. They talked about it as a field, even though. That may not be quite literal. That might just be meaning just sort of an area where there might be grass, but who knows? Francis.
Yeah, in this scene, the pauper is, he's really a pathetic character because he's been cheated out of his cows by a clergyman, and now he was planning to go off and try and get legal restitution or something. With his groat, and now he's been cheated out of his groat by a lot of religious mumbo jumbo. So and it was nice to see him fighting back, I have to say. I've been trying to work out, is the pardoner, is he a clergyman? Is he just a theatrical character? Or were there really people around about this time who went around the country selling pardons?
Oh yes, no, he's not. There are a lot of assumed conventions around pardoners, but they definitely existed. They were real people.
Were they clergymen then?
I think they were lay.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about people who sell indulgences,
yeah.
No, they weren't ordained.
Right.
They were salespeople.
Okay.
My understanding.
Alan.
Where's Helen when you need her?
I think the answer on that, Francis, is go back to Chaucer General Prologue. There's quite a good description of the pardoner as being a general snake oil salesman.
Right.
But what strikes me so far is we've now had play number 3 in this sequence, because there's not been that much connection between any of the 3 parts that I'm seeing so far. You know, we had the trailer, which didn't connect with part 1 in many ways at all, and then this interlude, which doesn't seem to have connected very much with either of the previous, with the exception of Diligence as the continuing sort of narrator character.
Well, no, we've got the Souter and his wife have returned, and they're also similar to the Cutter and his wife in the first part, as in the pre thing. And I think thematically this is much more connected. It's much less. Here is some random stuff that will entertain you while we tell you about the show that's appearing. This is thematically discussing elements of abuse of the clergy that we had a lot about. I mean, you know, the last time we saw the clergy, the abbots and the abbesses and various figures, they were all having an orgy with sensuality. So, okay, that might be an exaggeration. They had a little kiss with. So in a sense, this is an extension of that thought. It's not directly in the sense that there are that many linking characters, but it's not as isolated as that initial thing was. Lois.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, really. A good part of the action in part 1 was Chastity trying to find somewhere to stay and the clergy all rejecting her. So that was making, a point about their behavior in one way. Now we're getting a different point about abuses in the clergy.
And of course, there's no guarantee that they won't appear again. Who knows? We have not found out where we're going with part 2. So yes, it's not, but it is also just a little interlude. It is something to break up the interval on some level. So it doesn't have to be exact in that sense, because of course it has to be designed so that you can miss it. Because if not everyone will catch this, presumably, because people will be wandering off doing random things. So it's not like the main body of the play where you would have to have information disseminated. So in a sense, this can't do plot. It's forbidden to do plot in this kind of thing. Lois.
On the other hand, if they want a way to get the crowd back after they've wandered off to get their food and drink, this is a really good way. I mean, it's exciting and quite violent action.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting question as to precisely how you time this. You know, how much of the interval do you give the audience before you do this? Is this happening literally before the show starts again, and Diligence doesn't actually pause between the 4 lines of dialogue we've just done and the dialogue that Diligence is about to do, beyond maybe, a minute or 2 and somebody blows a trumpet or something? Or is there actually another 10, 15 minutes before part 2 properly starts? There is no answer to that. It's just it's a production decision of which we do not know. Any more for any more? Otherwise, we're going to dive into part 2. Okay, let's dive into part 2. I mean, it's not marked as part 2, by the way. This is just a later editorial thing that we make these divisions. That you could just, but it makes sense because it's another part of the play. So anyway, here shall Diligence make his proclamation.
Famous people, take tent, and ye shall see the 3 estates of this nation come to the court with an strange gravity. Therefore I make you supplication, till you have heard our hale narration, to keep silence and be patient, I pray you. Howbeit we speak by adulation, we shall say nothing but the sooth, I say you. Good virtuous men that loves the verity, I wait they will excuse our negligence, but vicious men denude of charity, as feigns it false flattering Saracens, howbeit they cry on us and loud vengeance, and of our pastimes making false report. What may we do but take in patience, and us refer unto the faithful sort? Our Lord Jesus, Peter nor Paul, could not comprise the people all, but some were miscontent. Howbeit they show the verity, some said that it were heresy, by their most false judgment.
And here shall the... Actually, I'm just going to pause there because I think it's too important that... how many times have we had this basically exactly the same speech in the whole history of drama? We've got a version of this kind of speech going back hundreds of years. It's one of the earliest fragments we got. It's not word for word, but it's pretty damn similar to this. It's the Cambridge Prologue. It's very similar to this. And then all the way through to where we're sort of our later plays, things like Marston, and people will be late writing this kind of thing in the 17th century. So this is this constant thread of be shush, pay attention. We can't please everyone, even our Lord Jesus, Peter or Paul, they couldn't please everyone either. Sort of that's borderline heresies. But it's a really, really good point. I just had to stop there. Anyone want to throw anything on that? But I just really wanted to highlight that. These prologues don't change. Centuries pass. Sorry, I apologise for stopping the action. We'd been promised the three estates, of which we didn't have a lot on last time. We got sort of hints of it. Maybe we're going to get something a bit more explicitly three-estatey coming up. Here shall the three estates come from the pavilion, ganging backward, led by their vices.
Now, braid benedicite, what thing is yon that I see? Look, solace my heart.
Brother Wantonness, what thinkst thou? Yon are the three estates, I trow, ganging backward.
Backward. Ah, well away. It is great shame for them, I say, backward to gang. I trow the king correction, man make a reformation, or it be long. Now let us go and tell the king.
There is a pause.
Sir, we have seen a marvelous thing by our judgment. The three estates of this region are coming backward through this town to the Parliament.
And backward, how may that be? Gar them speak hastily to me, in dread that they go wrong.
I think I didn't put in a placebo. Anyone want to leap in? Be a placebo.
Well,
Francis, be placebo for a second, will you?
Good counsel next.
You can't be. Eric, be a placebo.
Sir, I see them yonder coming. They will be here even fra hand, as fast as they may gang.
Sir, hold you still and scar them naught, till ye perceive what be their thought, and see what men them leads. And let the king correction make and sharp inquisition, and mark them by the heads when ye ken the occasion that makes them such persuasion. Yet may expel the cause, sign them reform as ye think best, so that the realm may live in rest according to God's laws.
Here shall the three estates come and turn their faces to the king.
Glory, honor, loud triumph, and victory be to your mighty prudent excellence. Here are we come, all the estates three, ready to make our due obedience at your command with humble observance, as may pertain to spirituality with counsel of the temporality.
We with mighty courage at command of your super excellent majesty shall make service both with our heart and hand, and shall not dread in thy defence to die. We are content, but doubt that we may see that noble, heavenly King correction, so he with mercy make punition.
Sir, we are here, your burgesses and merchants. Thanks be to God that we may see your face. Trusting we may now into diverse lands convey our gear with support of your grace. For now I trust we shall get rest and peace when misdoers are with your sword overthrown. Then may leal merchants live upon their own. Welcome to me, my prudent lords all. Ye are my members, suppose I be your head. Sit down, that we may with your just counsel against misdoers find sovereign remed. We shall not spare for favour nor for fed, with your advice to make punition, and put my sword to execution.
My tender friends, I pray you with my heart, declare to me the thing that I would spear. What is the cause that ye gangle backwards? The verity there fain I would hear.
Sovereign, we have gained so this many a year. Howbeit do ye think we go undecently? We think we gang right wonder pleasantly.
Sit down, my lords, into your proper places. Sign, let the king consider all such cases. Sit down, Sir Scribe, and sit down, Dempster, too, and fence the court as you were wont to do.
They are set down, and good counsel shall pass to his seat.
My prudent lords of the three estates, it is our will above all other thing for to reform all them that makes debates, contrary the right, which daily does malling, and they that does the commonweal down thring, with help and counsel of King Correction. It is our will for to make punishing, and plain oppressors put to subjection.
What thing is this, sir, that ye have devised? Sirs, ye have need for to be well advised. Be not hasty into your execution, and be not our extreme in your punition. And if ye please to do, sir, as we say, postpone this parliament till another day. For why? The people of this region may not endure extreme correction.
Is this the part, my lords, that ye will take, to make a supportation to correct? It does appear that ye are culpable that are not to correction applicable. So with diligence, go show it is our will that every ilk man oppressed and given his bill.
All manner of men, I wear, that be oppressed, come and complain, and they shall be redressed. For why? It is the noble prince's will that ilk complainer shall give in his bill.
Enter someone complaining.
Out of my gate, for God's sake, let me go. Tell me again, good master, what ye say.
Okay, I'm completely lost. I just screwed that up.
Diligence, I warn all that be wranglously.
Okay. I warn all that be wranglously offended, come and complain. They shall be amended.
Thanked be Christ that bore the crown of thorn, for I was never so blithe sin I was born.
What is thy name, fellow, that I would fell?
Forsooth, they call me John, the commonweal. Good master, I would ask at you an thing. Where trust ye I shall find yon new-made king?
Come over, and I shall show thee to his grace.
God's benison light on that lucky face. Stand by thy gate. Let's see if I can loop. I man run fast in case I get an coop.
And here, and I'm just going to pause here because I love this stage direction. Here shall John leap the stank, the ditch, or else fall in it. I love this, just the understanding of performances, that whatever this ditch is, that presumably has the water in it, that is surrounding perhaps just the primary central area where the king is, or maybe more wider outside around the space, It is obviously wide enough that it is possible for him to cock up the leap of over the ditch, and that the author has acknowledged this possibility, and it's fine either way. He can fall in and make a mess of it, and perhaps there's additional dialogue that will cover that eventuality. I like that. I like that a lot. So we have the three estates. The three estates have come in, have been properly introduced. They are here to do some three estate business: spirituality, temporality, and merchants. And they've all popped in. And the kings generally open the floor. Anyone got any complaints? Any complaints? And immediately, John the Commonweal has turned up and had to negotiate with Diligence for entrance. Basically, it's I love the way it's just immediately Diligence says, "Anyone want to complain?" and immediately someone comes in and says, "Whoa!"
I got one. So I have a question. So is that the traditional three estates, the spirituality, the commonality, and merchants? Like, how are the merchants not common? I'm sorry, I'm just confused. And
Yeah, Lois.
No, it's the spirituality, and then the nobility, and then the sort of middle class, I guess, the merchant class, yeah, and craftsmen, perhaps.
So I like, we don't have a nobility. We don't have
we should get the nobility at some point. I think the nobility, what are they called? The temporality.
Okay, so temporality is earthly power, the nobility. And then merchants would be the commonality, and then the spirituality is the church. Okay,
yeah.
The names got me confused.
Yeah, and and in theory, of course, there are four anyway, because they're just not bothering with the really poor people. The really poor people just sort of occasionally come in and complain, and everyone just seems to ignore them. That seems to be what this player is just going, well, you poor, you are screwed. Because that's what, going back to Hayward again, in Gentleness and Nobility, that's an estates play as well, but that doesn't really involve the clergy in that conversation. It's just the merchant, the nobility, and the really poor, or the labouring class, as it were. So this one has chosen three estates out of. I think, as I say, the option is four. I don't think there's a fifth. Until there's a popular press. Alan.
Yeah, and the fourth estate, the commonality, so nothing much has changed in the last 4.5 centuries.
Stephen, were you sort of waving earlier, or I forget?
Well, I was just thinking because, I mean, the Commonweal or the Commons is a huge explosion of writing from and about them. During the Reformation in England and in Scotland, and they often pull in the ploughman as well. So this kind of, I think the discussion we're having is actually, it's quite linked into the discussions they were having. It's kind of like, how many estates are there, and who's in, and who's included? And I think it's interesting that we also have this notion of the Commonweal, which is a sort of, doesn't quite sit there. And it's not just the paupers, but on the other hand, they seem to be included in it. And it links back to the way in which Reformation, popular Reformation writing, looked back to, the example of the Israelites under bondage of various kinds, and the kind of the idea that there's a sort of almost psalmic appeal here to be kind of freed in various ways, sometimes to do with literal history, but sometimes in this more abstract sense. So I think it's really interesting that we have this word commonweal. It's got huge valences at the time.
I mean, I suppose today this would be called a satire of the A1, A, B, C1, C2, D demographic.
Well, the equivalent of the commonweal today is a word like the street or something like that.
Any other thoughts before we move on? I just wanted to pause there at the stage direction because I just loved it. Eric?
I was kind of hoping that the pauper would come back and put in an official bill of complaint, but I guess he can't.
Well, there's still time, early days. Elizabeth?
I particularly enjoyed it being called the stank. I thought that was very descriptive, and you got a sense of like open gutters kind of thing, with like sewage, open sewage running in the streets kind of thing.
Yeah, you get the impression you don't want to fall in the stank, do you?
You'd end up with a stank face.
I think I should probably move us swiftly on. Let's return to the scene. So John has leapt or fallen in it, either way, and is being hustled by Diligence to the king. So Diligence takes up the cudgel.
Speed thee away, thou tarries all too long.
Now, by this day, I may no faster gang. Good day, great God save both your graces. Wally, Wally, full they two well-fed faces.
Show me thy name, good man, I thee command.
Marry John the Commonweal of fair Scotland.
The Commonweal has been among his foes.
Yea, sir, that guards the Commonweal wants clothes.
And what is the cause the Commonweal is crooked?
Because the Commonweal has been overlooked.
What guards thee look so with an dreary heart?
Because the three estates gangs all backward.
Sir, Commonweal know ye the limmers that thee leads.
These canker colours, I ken them be the heads. As for our reverend fathers of spirituality, they are led by covetise and careless sensuality. And as ye temporality has need of correction, which has long time been led by public oppression, lo, where the loun lies lurking at his back, get up, I think, to see thy craig gar and rape crack. Lo, here is falset and deceit well I ken, leaders of the merchants and silly craftsmen. What marvel though the three estates backward hang, when such an vile company dwells them among, which has ruled this rout many dear days, which gars John the Commonweal want his warm clays. Sir, call them before you and put them in order, or else John the Commonweal man beg on the border. Thou feigns it flattery, the fiend fart in thy face. When ye was guider of the court, we got little grace. Rise up, falset and deceit, without any sunny. I pray God nor the devil's dame dry't on thy grunny. Behold, as the loon looks even like a thief, many white workmen thou brought to mischief. My sovereign Lord Correction, I make you supplication. Put these troukers from Christ's congregation.
As ye have devised, but doubt it shall be done. Come here, my sergeants, and do your debt soon. Put these three pillars into prison strong. Howbeit ye should hang them, then hang them, ye do no wrong.
Sovereign lords, we shall obey your commands. Brother, upon these limmers lay on thy hands. Rise up soon, loun thou lutes, even like a lurden. Your mouth were meet to drink and wash Jordan.
Come here, gossip, come here, come here. Your rackle's life ye shall repent. When was ye wont to be so swear? Stand still and be obedient.
There is naught in all this town, but I would not his tale were told, but I would hang him for his gown, whether it were laird or laid. I trow this pellior be spun gade. Put in thy hand into this cord. Howbeit, I see thy scalp scar scathed. Thou art unsuet. I stand forward.
And here shall the vices, presumably falset and deceit, who we met in the first half, don't worry, it's all connected, people, are led to the stocks.
Put in your legs into the stocks. for ye had never and meter hose. Those Stuarts stinks as they were brocks. Now are ye sicker, I suppose.
And a pause.
My lords, we have done your commands. Shall we put covetise in captivity?
You hardly lay on them your hands, right so upon sensuality.
This is my grainter and my chamberlain, and has my gold and gear under her curies. I make and vow to God I shall complain unto the Pope how ye do me injuries.
My reverend fathers, take in patience. I shall not long remain from your presence, though for a while I maun from you depart. I wit my spirit shall remain in your heart. And when this king correction be as absent, then shall we too return incontinent. Therefore, adieu.
Adieu by Saint Maven. Pass where ye will, we are two natural men.
Adieu, my lord.
Adieu, my own sweetheart. Now doleful me that we two man depart.
My lord, howbeit this parting does me pain, I trust in God we shall soon meet again.
To come again, I pray you do your cure. Want I you too, I may not long endure.
And here shall the sergeants chase them away, and they shall gang to the seat of sensuality. Just going to pause there so that everybody's up to speed with what's going on. Rex Humanitas has heard from John, the Commonwealth, the common people, that falsit, deceit, and the other one, flattery, has been doing all sorts of bad things, and also that there's a sense of all the people associated with the spirituality are who are making out with sensuality the other day. There's an awful lot of people going, oh, yeah, we're getting out of Dodge now. Yeah, should we just we're just off, and it's they're a bit miffed. So it's like, yeah, that's goodbye covetous, goodbye sensuality. They're going to go back to the seat of sensuality, so presumably the area that those vices lived in at the beginning. So again, we have a sort of sectional thing. This is where people live. They probably close some curtains and then have a cup of tea. That's what I'd do. I was pausing primarily just to make sure everyone was with us. Any additional thoughts anyone wants to throw in at this point? Elizabeth.
I really like the dramatic action of putting the vices in stocks. I don't think it's something we've seen before in a morality play. I'm just trying to think back. I don't have like Eric's super brain, but I was just thinking that putting them in the stocks and having that be on stage is quite dramatic, because isn't the next thing for being put in the stocks having vegetables thrown at you?
Oh yes, all sorts of public shaming rituals are available for when you're in the stocks. Yeah, I mean, I think there's considering some of the things that people are talking about toilet water, shall we say, and various other things. I think that could be the least of their worries. It mirrors earlier because we had the virtuous characters being put in the stocks. So this is sort of eye for an eye payback, as it were. I'm trying to think. Stephen might know this as well, and Lois. I'm trying to think. Have we had that many vices put in stocks? They tend to get arraigned and then punished. I don't know whether they get ritually shamed. I don't think so, because they're shameless.
I feel like they get hanged.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we've definitely had a hanging. We've had a stoning. We quite enjoyed the stoning. So yeah, I don't know about stocks. That's a good question. I'm sure someone will tell us, or we'll do a search, and we'll come up with the answer. Okay, bad things are happening to the bad people. That seems to be where we're going. So the sergeants have chased away all the bad people from the spirituality. They've gone back to the home of sensuality. And now temporality takes up the cudgels.
My lords, ye know the three estates, for common weal should make debates. Let now amongst us be devised such acts that with good men be praised, conforming to the common law, for of no man should stand awe, and for to save us from Mermel, son diligence, fetch us good counsel, for why he is a man that knows both the canon and the civil laws.
Father, ye may incontinent pass to the lords of parliament, for why they are determinate all to do no things by your counsel.
That shall I do within short space, praying the Lord to send us grace, for to conclude or we depart, that they may profit afterward. Both to the kirk and to the king I shall desire no other thing.
Good counsel takes a little pause.
My lords, God glad the company. What is the cause ye send for me?
To sit down and give us your counsel how we shall slake the great murmur of poor people that is well known, and as the commonweal hath shown. And as we know it is the king's will that good remedy be put theretil, Sir Commonweal, keep ye the bar, let none except yourself come now.
That shall I do as best I can. I shall hold out both wife and man. Ye man, let this pure creature support me for to keep the dure. I know his name full sickly, he will complain as well as I.
And John will do a stunning transition back into good counsel.
My worthy lords, seeing ye have ta'en on hand some reformation to make into this land, and as ye know, it is the king's mind, who to the commonweal has aye been kind, through reef and theft were stanched well enough, yet something more belongs to the plough. Now into peace ye should provide for weirs, and be sure of how many thousand spears the king may be when he has aught ado. For why, my lords, this is my reason too. The husbandmen and commons they will want, go in the battle foremost in the front. But I have tint all my experience, without ye make some better diligence. The commonweal man other ways be styled, or by my faith the king will be beguiled. These pure commons daily, as ye may see, declines down to extreme poverty. For some are hitched so into their mail, their winning will not find them water kale. How prelates hitch their ties, it is well known, that husbandmen may not well hold their own. And now begins plague among them new, the gentlemen their steadings takes in view. Thus man they pay great firm, or lay their stead, and some are plainly hurled out by the head, and are destroyed without God on them rue.
Sir, by God's bread, that tale is very true. It is well kenned I had both nolt and horse. Now all my gear you see upon my course.
Ere I depart, I think to make good order.
I pray you, sir, begin first at the border, for how can we send us against England when we cannot within our native land destroy our own Scots, common traitor thieves, who to leal labours daily does mischiefs? Were I am king, my Lord God's wounds, whoever held common thieves within their bounds, where through that daily lealman might be wranged, without remedy their chieftains should be hanged. Whether he were a knight and lord or laid, the devil draw me to hell if he were spared.
What other enemies hast thou let us ken?
Sir, I complain upon the idle men, for why, sir, it is God's own bidding, all Christian men to work for their living. St. Paul, that pillar of the kirk, says to the wretches that will not work, and being to virtues laith, qui non laborat non manduset. This is in English tongue ere late, who labours not, he shall not eat. This being against the strong beggars, fiddlers, pipers, and partners, these jugglers, jesters, and idle creatures, these carriers and these quintessensors, these babble bearers and these bards, these swear swingers with lords and lairds, more than their rents may sustain, or to their profit needful been, which been I blithest of discords, and deadly fed among their lords. For then they slutchers man be treated, or else their quarrels undebated. This being against these great fat friars, Augustines, Carmelites, and Cordeliers, and all others that in cowls been clad, which labours not, and been well fed. I mean not labouring spiritually, nor for their living corporally, lying in dens like idle dogs. I them compare to well-fed hogs. I think they do themselves abuse, seeing that they the world refuse, having professed such poverty. Sin flees fast from necessity. What if they poverty would profess, and do as did Diogenes, that great famous philosopher, seeing in earth but vain labour, I'll utterly the world refused, and in an tomb be himself enclosed, and living on herbs and water cold, of corporal food no more he would. He trotted not from town to town, begging to feed his carrion. From time that life he did profess, the wood of him was cumberless. Right so of Mary Magdalene, and of Mary the Egyptian, and of old Paul the first hermit. All these had poverty complete, and 100 more I might declare. But to my purpose I will fare, concluding slothful idleness against the commonweal express.
Whom upon ma will you complain?
Marry on ma and ma again. For the pure people cries with cares, the in-fetching of justice heirs, exerting more for covetise than for the punishing of vice, and pegroll thief that steals an cow is hanged, but he that steals an bow with as mickle gear as he may terse, that thief is hanged by the purse. Such piking pegroll thieves are hanged, but he that all the world has ranked, and cruel tyrann, and strong transgressor, and common public plain oppressor, by buds may he obtain favours of treasurers and compositors, thought he served great punition, gets easy composition, and through laws consitorial, prolix, corrupt, and perpetual, the common people are put so under, though they be poor, it is no wonder.
Good John, I grant all that is true. Your infortune full sore I rue. Ere I part of this nation, I shall make reformation. And as my lord temporality, I you command in time that ye expel oppression off your lands. And as I say to you, merchants, if ever I find by land or sea deceit be in your company, which are to commonweal contraire, I vow to God I shall not spare to put my sword to execution, and make on you extreme punition. Moreover, my lord's spirituality, in goodly haste I will find that ye set into few your temporal lands to make men to men that labours with their hands, but not to engarking gentlemen that neither will he work nor can, where through the policy may increase.
I am content, sir, by the mass, so that the spirituality sets theirs in view as well as we.
My spiritual lords, are ye content?
No, no. We man take advisement in such matters, for to conclude over hastily we think not good.
Conclude ye not with the commonweal, ye shall be punished by St. Gilles.
Here shall the bishops come with the friar.
Sir, we can show exemption from your temporal punition, the which we purpose to debate.
What then, ye think to strive for state? My lords, what say ye to this play?
My sovereign lords, we will obey, and take your part with heart and hand, whate'er ye please us to command.
Here shall the temporal states sit down on their knees and say,
But we beseech yon sovereign of all our crimes that are by gain to give us in remission. And here we make to you condition the commonweal for to defend from henceforth till our lives' end.
On that condition, I am content to pardon you sin ye repent, the commonweal take by the hand, and make with him perpetual band.
And here shall the temporal states, to wit, the lords and merchants, embrace John the Commonweal. We'll just pause there. So yeah, John makes his case about the state of the world in relation to the temporality, and correction says, yeah, this needs a bit of work, and temporality. So no, we concur. Okay, that's cool. Let's all hug, and be friends. I think. Alan.
I must admit, the response of spirituality in the middle of that reminded me of the old, I think it's Augustine, oh Lord, give me chastity, but just not yet.
Yeah, it's not quite our. It's not. This isn't really anything to do with us. This whole thing. It's separate. It's separate from us. Any complaints you have there?
Different.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the different punishments. I quite like John's making the there are uneven punishments for different things, and that just don't make any sense. He's got his backing singer, the paupers about as well, who makes the odd interjections. So yeah, there's all sorts going on here. Lots of people talking. Some of them talking to themselves. Francis.
Yeah, what depressed me about John the Commonweal's speech is not much has changed in 600 years.
Yep. These are all very living issues.
Yeah.
Which, for our purposes, of course, makes it useful, because it's even though this is speaking to quite specific things in various places, it has enough generalness to speak to the world today, which is I say helpful. Otherwise, people would be sitting there going, "I have no idea what's going on," which occasionally does happen. I think we mentioned it in the chat. I don't think we said it out loud. It's just. And I've said it in previous videos, don't think I've said it here, is that the text we're reading has been modernized and sort of de-dialectified to a large degree, so that the casual readers can get through it on a cold read. But there's definitely a real sense that John and any of the lower status characters have a very different dialect and a different way of speaking to the higher status characters here, and there's a lot more I think to be played with when you actually dig down to the original text and make decisions about accent and dialect of how much works. So these sessions are just get the overall shape of things. So we're not going to be able to dig down into that too much. But I think it's worth noting that there's a lot more that could be got out of this. Other thoughts about John, about correction, who seems to be enjoying himself. Elizabeth.
Yeah, my observation is about tone. It's kind of shifted. I feel like the tone has really, really shifted into. It reminded me of, I think, A Looking Glass for London in England, where it was very political, and there was lots about political debate in the court. And this kind of has seemed to have moved from the ass-kissing scene to a kind of an embracing of the commonweal scene, which is very, very different.
Yeah, there's a much sharper focus on the morality and the debate of this session. Though I say we've got crossover characters. If we assume that the pauper is the same one from earlier, which I think it's fair to assume is. And of course we have a crossover with Looking Glass in the sense that there is no cow. So
three cows.
Yeah, no cows plural. Lois.
Yeah, There's also, I mean, John the Commonweal is rather like people in Res Publica, except that there really isn't anybody until very near the end of the play to help people. I mean, the vices just keep getting rid of him or teasing him or something when he comes on. But again, there seem to be quite a lot of resemblances between this and Res Publica. And I don't know which one was influenced by the other.
I'd assume because there's a possibility that this play's was around for a while, that it would go. It's possibly more the other way around, but then again, it depends on whether Res Publica is entirely original or whether that's based on other earlier things that crosses over. I'm saying all these words out loud while I quickly have a little look at my spreadsheet. Res Publica definitely comes after this, so I would assume it's Res Publica might be riffing off this or similar, not the other way around. I mean the people in that sense are all in the throes of badness as the vices are in charge. The vices are not in charge once we've met this character. So he's able to immediately go to a virtue and say, "Hi, bad things have happened to me in the past. Can you help me?" And they go, "Yeah, sure. Hang on. We'll just do have a little conflab. We will have a debate." As they keep saying, this is a debate play because they have speakers coming up making their points. There's not much back and forth on the debate, but it has a debate structure, so that's quite nice.
Yeah.
If you're into that thing, some people aren't. Lois.
Well, it's a parliament structure. I mean, I'm just thinking back to Chaucer's Parliament of Fowls and so on, and literally it just means people talking, doesn't it? Parler, but it's obviously it's also got the sense of a parliament that can make decisions and even laws. Yeah, I mean, later on we get plays too, and there's a whole notion of the Parliament of Love, the Parliament of this, that, and the other thing. So it is a kind of debate structure.
Yes, even the bees have a go later on.
Oh yes.
Almost incomprehensibly, but not quite. There was one that had so much potential and went nowhere fast. I'm not often negative about text, but. I was so disappointed with the Parliament of Bees. Anyway, let us conclude where we're going up to today. There isn't a particularly good stopping point. It's pretty random. But anyway, the embracing of John the Commonweal's been going on. Correction continues talking, asking John, "Have you any more for any more? Any more for any more?"
John, have you any more debates against the Lords of Spiritual States?
No, sir. I dare not speak an word to plain John priests. It is no board.
Flight on thy fowl, feel I desire thee, so that thou show but the verity.
Grand mercies, then I shall not spare. First to complain on the vicar, the pure cotter being like to die, having young infants 2 or 3, and has 2 kai, but any ma, the vicar must have any of they, with the grey frug that covers the bed. Howbeit the wife be purely clad, and if the wife die on the morn, though all the bairn should be forlorn, the other cow he cleeks away with the pure cot of Raploch grey. Would God this custom were put down, which never was founded by reason.
Are all thy tales true that thou tells?
True, sir. The devil stick me else, for by the Holy Trinity that same was practised on me. For our vicar, God give him pine, has yet 3 tidy kai of mine. And for my wain, for my father, and for my wife another, and the 3rd cow he took for mauled my mother.
Our parson here takes no other pine, but to receive his tains and spend them sign. Howbeit he be ablaze by good reslume to preach the evangel to his paracoom. Howbeit they should want preaching 17 year. How parson will not want and chafe off bear.
Our bishops with their lusty rochets white, they flow in riches, royalty, and delight. Like paradise been their palaces and places, and wants no pleasure of the fairest faces. As these prelates has great prerogatives, For why they may depart, aye, with their wives, without any correction or damage. Sign take another wantoner, but marriage. But do't I would think it in pleasant life, aye, when I list to part with my wife. Sign take another of far greater beauty. But ever, alas, my lords, that may not be, for I am bound, alas, in marriage. But they, like rams, rudely in their rage, up unpisalt runs among the silly ewes, so long as a kind of nature in them grows.
And we have a parson. I'm sure I gave her to parson. Did I forget to give out to parson? Maybe I did. Elizabeth, be a parson.
Okay. Thou lies false, whoreson, ragged loon. There is no priest in all this town that ever used such vicious crafts.
The fiend receive thy flattering shafts. So Domine, I troud ye had be dumb. Where devil got we this ill-fed blaty bum?
To speak of priests, be sure it is no bawds. They will burn men now for reckless words, and all they words are heresy indeed.
The mickle fiend received the soul that laid. All that I say is true, though thou be grieved, and that I offer on thy palate to preved.
My lords, why do ye toil that leaden lown of kirkmen to speak such detraction? I let you wit, my lords, it is no bawds of prelates for to speak such wanton words.
And here shall spirituality fames and rages.
Yon villain puts me out of charity.
Why, my lord, says he, aught but verity. He cannot stop and pure man for to plain. If he has faulted, summon him to your sane.
Yea, that I shall. I make great God a vow. He shall repent that he spake of the cow. I will not suffer such words of yon villain.
Aye, Hangar, give me my 3 fat kye again.
False churl, to speak to me stands thou not all.
The fiend received them that first devised that law. Within an hour after my dad was dead, the vicar had my cow hard by the head.
False whoreson churl, I say that law is good, because it has been long our consuetude.
When I am Pope, that law I shall put down. It is a sore law for the poor common.
I make and vow thy words thou shalt repent.
You require, my lords, be patient. We came not here for disputations. We came to make good reformations. Herefore of this your proposition, conclude and put to execution.
My lords, conclude that all the temporal lands be set in few to labourers with their hands, with such restriction as shall be devised that they may live and not to be surprised with a reasonable augmentation. And when they hear in proclamation that the king's grace does make him for the weir, that they be ready with harness, bow and spear. As for myself, my lord, this I conclude.
So we all, for your reason be so good, to make an act on this, we are content. On that, Sir Scribe, I take an instrument. What do ye of the corps present and cow? I will conclude nothing of that as now, without my lord of spirituality, there to consent with all this hale clergy. My lord bishop, will ye hereto consent?
And that's where I've randomly just stopped where we're going. Well, when we start next time, we're going to go back a bit and run into this. because basically it was just literally we've hit the number of words that we need to do, and I couldn't find a particularly satisfactory place to stop. We're midway through a bit of a Barney. I really like the way this goes. It's like, so John, do you have anything? Would you like to say anything about the Lord Spiritual? And going, no, I'm not getting involved with them. So no, it's fine. Go on. Okay, and he lets rip, and then he's go, and Pauper, is this true? And the Pauper just says, hold my pint, and and let's rip with the cow. It's there's a lot of resentment there that has been set up and let rip, which is interesting because I said earlier that the stuff from the interlude has to be missable on some level. But actually, and I suppose it doesn't matter too much because he repeats it all. But there is a sort of bonus ball here that if you did catch that bit, you get you get this sort of payoff of the Pauper really going for it here, and spirituality just having a tantrum. Spirituality is not happy, happy at all. With all this stuff, and Lois.
Yeah, fame is foam, isn't it? Is he foaming at the mouth?
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain on that. I don't recall having a proper gloss for it. Yeah, foam indeed. Yeah. So.
Oh my.
So, big spirituality. Big moment there. Big moment. So yeah, and then I love the way Good Counsel just sort of goes, "We're not here for disputations." Sorry. I seem to get the impression that's entirely what we're here for in part 2 so far. It's disputation followed by disputation. But yeah. Let's talk to the merchants for a bit. They're probably going to be less intemperate. So, Stephen.
I was really intrigued, given that some of us were sort of Wikipediaing away before we started about Scottish politics. That the idea of we need some decent warriors, and that spirituality is not just greedy but positively unpatriotic, because it's not that long ago that the English invaded and we were absolutely slaughtered. So it seems to be a package here. The point of this reform that the merchant suggests is that people need to be ready with harness, bow and spear, and that it isn't just a kind of an obvious injustice, but actually it's politically crazy to have such a setup where you've got all these rent seekers. But we can't raise a decent army, and that's obviously why the English are beating us.
Oh yeah, no, that's really I really like that, Lois.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, it's really an idea of fattening them for the slaughter, because the idea is to make the common people healthier, so they can all be put in the front of the army and go out and get killed.
Yeah, there's a number of wars where the war starts and the country makes an assessment of how good the fighting force is and go, oh god, they're all a bit sickly, aren't they? We better improve everyone's because I think we had that at the beginning of the First and Second World War of just people just going, oh, people aren't very healthy. We need to do something about that because we can't kill them otherwise. Alan.
In fact, I think it was the one before the First World War. It's the Boer War that brought up the question of the poor. In other words, the potential common soldiery were undernourished and underfit. But I mean, the resonance is on the idea of breaking the power of the landlords. I mean, that's certainly resonated down Scottish politics for the last God knows how many 100 years.
And Irish.
Well, and Irish as well. But I was thinking specifically in the Scots environment, and I think what some of the earlier laws when the Scottish Parliament was restored, a couple of decades ago, were on that very topic, and the access to land, the right to roam stuff.
Right, we are approaching extra time, so it's time for final thoughts. Some of you have been with us throughout the whole thing, some for a bit, and some have just been airlifted into this this epic thing. It's we're getting some of the really nice thing about a show that goes large, that is really expansive, and you're there for the day, and there's food and there's drink. That interlude is sort of removable and doable as its own little thing, but it also does fit into the themes of it's setting you up for, I think, the second half, because it's doing stuff that the first half didn't really do. The second half is really, we're getting the satire of the three estates. It quite explicitly says, now we're going to have a discussion about the three estates, and we're going to try and make it entertaining, and someone's going to fall into a ditch, or maybe not. Maybe he'll leap across it. We don't know until the day. He's been training on his ditch leaping. He's been leaping that stank every day for the last 3 weeks, and we're hoping he's going to make it today. So yeah, that's one of the really nice things about saying expansive, that it's actually able to zoom in and zoom out and play with those themes, and that you get these repeated tropes echoing each other, even if they're not exactly the same sometimes, that actually there's something really nice about it. And even though there's only a tangential connection with that sort of introductory proclamation, again, that's actually starting to feel more connected, actually, than it did before, but is still quite detachable. So yeah, there's still quite a way to go. We've only just crossed the halfway mark. We've crossed the Rubicon. It's downhill all the way, I'm sure. So final thoughts from the room. Lynn, you've been here for a reasonable percentage of everything. How's it going? Landing for you now? You had reservations last time. Are you improved or lower?
Well, I thought Elizabeth made a very astute observation about we have a gear shift from the ass kissing and falling in the muddy ditch to this sort of much more politically oriented, morally centered, debate format. And to tell you the truth, that whole bodily function thing that is sort of a mood in late medieval literature, and the kind of sanctimoniousness of the morality play, I have a really limited appetite for both those modes, so it's not grabbing me. Sorry.
Who is here for the arse kissing? I'm not saying you should raise your hands now, but maybe just make a subtle noise in the background. So yeah, I mean, it is a question of taste as well, and genre of that this is an area of theatre which is a bit niche. But if you go for it, you go for it, and if you don't, you don't. I don't think you can convert people to interludes. I don't think you should even try. Stephen, you've been here throughout. Any final thoughts?
Well, not much really. I mean, it just popped into my head. There was a great kind of to do, or there has been at various times, about state of the nation plays. There was that lasts for more than one evening. It lasts for 24 hours or something like that. And I can't help sort of thinking that the sort of annoying thing about it, or the thing that's annoying some people, it is part of the bigger signal, which is all human life is here, and that might be part of the power of it if you can sit through it. So I think we need kind of puppy breaks and stuff like that a little bit, I think. But perhaps that's, they're not all sat there like in a cinema kind of tied to their chairs, and perhaps people are kind of able to dip in and out in a way that we really can't, because we're concentrating. I wouldn't mind being at this as long as there were kind of snacks and I could sort of sit back and chat or whatever, and if I was really interested, go forward. So I kind of feel like that about it. This is a kind of week-long reading for us, and I'm really, really interested in something that tries to be so big and baggy. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying, you sit there. I mean, you think they're going to get seats for this? I wonder if this is that more promenade thing. I mean, we've done this year we've done an outdoor Lord Mayor show reconstruction, which basically involved a lot of us standing around for an entire day, even though the shows themselves were relatively short. So I'm interested in that sort of event thing. That actually the event is more important sometimes than the text itself, and that you buy into it on that level. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what struck me is that Lindsay's obviously worked out, there are different segments of the audience, and we need to keep varying the diet to keep people entertained. Which is why we're getting sort of some of this political, theological debate going on, and also interspersed with scenes which are going to be appealing much more to the low comedy end of the market. I'm unclear as to what the original target audience would have been for this. And as Stephen said, it's a hell of an endurance test to actually sit through the whole darn thing. We're only just over halfway through, and I'm certain bits of me are certainly getting numb.
Yeah, but I mean, again, just on that principle of actually, I don't think this is designed for people to sit through in that sense. And that concentration element. I mean, the long, lengthy shows that I've been to, day-long things, you don't get tired in that same way. And also, I think we've got to be careful about talking about different kinds of humour being a class-based thing necessarily. The royalty and are more than capable of laughing at fart jokes, as are the everybody else.
I'm not suggesting a class basis on it, but it's a matter of varying the diet between, a theological discussion on the evils of the established church, and let's throw in a few fart gags or a bit of wife beating, or rather wives beating husbands, to vary the diet. I'm not suggesting that either of those is particularly class based.
Lois, any final thoughts?
Well, I think when you said promenade, that's probably quite right. I was thinking those pauses, that can't just be to allow a character to go from one place to another. I think the audience probably followed them there. Otherwise, I don't see how they could have heard what was going on, over such a wide space. And apart from that, I think even the dirty jokes, for the most part, they're not just bodily functions. I mean, awful lot of them are about unhappy marriages, and particularly because women beat their husbands. But what people keep saying in the course of that is, aren't the clergy lucky? They can have all the sex they want, and they don't have to be married, and they can, dump women and get younger ones, and so it all sort of ties in.
Yeah, the two are not, separated. They're not just being thrown in. They are part of the moral, as it were. You're demonstrating the bad that people do for instructional purposes, as well as a cheap laugh. Let's not knock cheap laughs. Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking that sort of, since we're talking about like how the event would look and where it might be sort of staged, I was just thinking of places like the Meadows in Edinburgh, which is just a huge green space. You could have as many people as you like, technically speaking, and it's outdoors, and obviously not in mid-December, preferably, but like you could have sort of small tents for people, sort of different stage parts. And I don't know, I think it could also work as a sort of outdoor picnic kind of thing, like sort of like when people do country fairs or whatever, that kind of element. As for the content, I keep seeing like this second part as a sort of panel. Like you've got a panel discussion on morality basically, and then you've got one person who has the mic and has to keep passing it around. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
No, I like that. And I was going to say, actually, when talking about how the acoustics would have worked for the original performances, we don't have that problem. We can just, have a load of mics. So we have got the option of vocal support. But that's a really important question with a lot of those medieval plays that we've looked at, the big expansive ones like Castle of Severance and the Mary Magdalene, is how they function in terms of audibility and where the audience is in relation to certain actions and how big the space is and how that all works, especially in spaces that might not be acoustically very good. When you build theatres, you can be heard by and large, unless the architect's cocked up, but outdoor spaces are really difficult, as we know. Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I've been here for 2 out of 3 sessions so far. I really like the idea of kind of a sprawling text that kind of takes over the entire week. I really like that. I think I also get a sense that Lindsay knows what he's doing with this text, that he is playing to the groundlings, but he's also playing to sort of the middle classes as well. And that he knows where he's going with this, even though we may not necessarily know where he's going with this. I don't really enjoy the fart jokes, of which there are ample in this text. But I did enjoy the raunchiness. And that was more, I feel like, in yesterday's session than today's. Today, I think we've moved more into more of a moralistic debate. And I like what Eric said about the panel. It did feel very much like the panel kind of going on with the microphone. So I was like, what do you think, Sir John of the Commonweal? Well, I think this, So I'm enjoying the text a lot. And I really enjoy a sense of doing a text over a whole week, because it's not something we've done that much of. I think it has a very nice spread. And it gives us opportunities to kind of rethink the text day upon day. And I like that a lot.
You say that now. Let's see how you feel on Friday. Yeah, absolutely. We haven't actually said that. Sir David does seem to know what he's doing. I mean, there's there may be indulgences. It may be long. It may be doing lots of things. But this author knows how to put a sentence together, and is keeping it quite dynamic all the way through. And even through the sort of slightly mangled process of getting it to you that you have here, this work in progress text that we're reading now. Francis, you've been parachuted in to the story so far. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's held my interest more than I was expecting. Maybe that's because this is my first Beyond Shakespeare session in a while. So I'm just enjoying being back. But yeah, I as I mentioned earlier, I kind of like the modern resonances in this piece, and it does feel like something that, as a spectator, you can sort of drift in and out of, because a lot of the scenes feel like they could be quite self-contained. So maybe you could pluck a few of them out and just do them as standalones in some sort of modern production. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Excellent. Yes, I think there are lots of it is episodic, but it is all tied together. And yeah, we could. I think we've talked about this a couple of times. This could be reconstructed in a whole series of different ways, depending on what focus or what your audience expectation is, and where you want to go. So we are over halfway through. It's we're heading towards a conclusion. We will continue part 2 next time. All that remains is thank all these wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
The Gruntle of St. Anthony's Sow.